Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another look at season achievements. This time we're looking at season 3, and this is a retrospective look, though, not like the other two where I was trying to give a little bit of a guide. In this case, it's after the fact. It's been over a month since the season closed, but I just wanted to go over it a little bit before season 4 starts, and I've got some other reasons I want to go into this, and we'll get to that in a bit here. But just real quick, what I'm going to go over, we're going to classify and break down the achievements as I've done with the last two sets. We're going to talk about their relative difficulty, both by itself and with the other two seasons included. Bring up issues that happened this season. This season had some very unique challenges compared to the other ones. And then talking about what we're expecting to come out of season 4, as it's right around the corner here. Just real quick, I'm not going to take time on this, but if anybody wants to look here, these are how I kind of just ranked the different achievements. It's very subjective. It's just my own thoughts. I also made this pretty fast, so like they could also be changed one or two ranks, but overall, this is, I think, a fine way to still look at it if you want to see the general breakdown of them. All right, so here though we're going to go into the types of the content in the achievements, and this here is by difficulty. So you'll see here that we've got 4 free achievements for this season, 13 easy-ish ones, 18 in the medium range, 12 hard, 10 brutal, and 2 that were impossible. Then the stat required, skill required, that's kind of subjective, but I put that there as well. The biggest thing you'll notice here, though, is the large increase we've had in ones that I consider relatively easy achievements. If you combine both the free and the easy sections in the past, so we had 8 and 2 for the season 2, which is about 10%. We had 14 and 14, so that's about 28. This one here is 7 and 22, which is about 29, so it's not too different from season 1 there. But still, the easy section is a lot bigger. But then when you also add in the medium range section, season 3 has a very large chunk, especially compared to season 2. I guess season 1 is kind of similar, but season 3, over half of the achievements are not that bad to get in my mind. Whereas season 2 had a lot of more medium to hard difficulty ones. And then another good change is, unlike season 2, there were a lot of those really brutal ones that took many hours. And actually, I'd even argue that season 1 was even worse with that. Not so far in quantity, but as far as like quality, it had certain ones that just took dozens of hours potentially, depending on your account, to earn. So this one, very nice. There were not really too many super difficult ones that just took tons of time. There's definitely some hard ones, but those are more skill centric than it was just kind of bang your head on the wall till it breaks through. So yeah, this is what we got though. I think the general trend is looking better than it has been. As far as what is being covered in these, we've had some big changes here. Notably, again, you need to look at percentages because that's the bigger factor. You'll notice that, as per usual, Camazone is a very large percentage. Going from season 1 is 25 to 18 in season 2 and 20 in season 3. So I have a feeling that's going to stay constant moving forward. The devs will always just have about 20% of the achievements based on Camazone. So just expect that it's going to happen. The second biggest section is towers, which was also true in the past. However, it's grown even more, and I think the reason for this, though, is because the section that I used to call the challenge section doesn't really exist in season 3 because they basically combined the challenge runs with the towers. They already had that before, but in this case, it's just there's no separate challenges from the towers. There's no like, oh, beat the boss in stage whatever with only one hero. Now it's a beat a certain tower stage with one hero, or 2 or 3. They had a lot. There was 18 achievements just for the towers, 3 per each element, because it was all based on the elemental tower horizons. So that's the hugest chunk right there. That's already 50% is between Camazone and the towers. Always been 2 big factors, but even bigger now. After that, then we've still got Expedition has a good hold. It's gotten a little smaller than when it was in season 1, but it's still 12% there. Co-op is pretty constant, somewhere between 5 and 10%. Is pretty standard for that. Boss Rush, of course, is a new category starting in season 2. It's grown in its value. Now it's 14%, so there was no way to skip it this time. Last time I actually completely skipped the Boss Rush almost altogether. But this time I had to actually do some. Then Arcade. Arcade is just the same 3 challenge. Just now it's worth less because there's more achievements. Mirror Rift disappeared this time. It was in both the last 2, but not in this one. Like I said, challenge was gone. And then the other category got a little bit bigger this time, but not too much different. So here's the layout: 12 Camazone challenges this time, 18 tower, 7 expedition, 4 co-op, 8 boss rush, 3 arcade, 0 mirror, 0 challenge, and 7 other for 59 total achievements. And the change column there is from last time. I didn't bother to calculate a new change from season 3 because there's a much larger number of achievements, so it's not really comparable. So here's some general thoughts just over the season. In general, I would say this season was a lot more reasonable for even any of the achievements up until the last one. I'll get to that in a minute. Excluding the deluxe frame, the rest of them were much more doable. There was a lot more choices involved. Nothing like super killer on your sanity, as far in my opinion. None of these no-hit challenges, unlike the last 2 seasons. No specific hero challenges, which is really nice for anybody who's not a super long-term player. Because I know that's really annoying when there's like, oh, beat this challenge with Arena, and you don't have Arena, then like you can't do that challenge unless you mileage or something. So this one was nice that there was nothing that was a only this hero. It was more so only this element. Like I mentioned, there was more choices. There's also though more that you had to do to get the things. It was just a change in the number of total things. So there's more challenges you have to beat, but more you can pick from. It was kind of an odd balance. The big issue with this season was co-op bugs. The very first week that they had co-op defense open, it actually worked fine. And if you were lucky, you could have earned both those achievements without issue. I was unfortunate. I only earned one of the two, and then I couldn't get the other one because after that, co-op was broken for almost 2 whole months, and it was broken for the remainder of the season. So like, I was always waiting every co-op to open, and I was hoping maybe they fixed it this time because they would claim they had in the patch notes, but then it wouldn't actually fix it. It would still be an issue. So yeah, that caused a big issue, and I'll get more details on that later. But it made some achievements undoable, even though they would normally be relatively easy or at least doable for certain players. And then just as a note here, I did not earn the season's deluxe frame, unlike the last 2, which I did earn. I actually could have, and I was extremely close. And I'll give you more details on the what happened exactly. But just so you know, I did not actually earn the deluxe frame this time. I'm just going to quickly cover each category. I'm not going to read too much of my notes here. It's very similar to the last few notes. This is just to give a brief recap. Camazome, it's permanent now. It seems it's going to be 20% of your achievements automatically. I don't like that they really add it in waves though. That's kind of annoying because like they'll add the beat Conqueror 3 on these floors, and then the next 2 weeks later they'll say beat on the same floors but now with curses, and it's like, well, why couldn't you just open both at the same time? Because I can earn them simultaneously. Why would I want to earn them before the second one opens? So I think they could fix that and just release all the Camazone related ones at one drop, so you can just work them together. But it's what it is. Curses are not that bad. Just use the penance benefit. Use guides and wait for the proper season because there's different seasons in Camazone. Some are easier than others. Trio's annoying, but it's doable. You just got to get good RNG and reroll a lot of the runs. And as per usual, Hannah's really nice to have. Notice actually at my opening slide I forgot to mention, but I had Hannah there because she's the best for Camazone. Crom is just really good for Expedition. And then I also added Andrus. Andrus was a nice bonus one for certain achievements this season, particularly dealing with Boss Rush and the Boss and Expedition. So those are 3 really good heroes, I think, in general. I would personally advise getting them, but it's up to you. And then play ranged. Range is the best. I used to want to play melee, but range is the best. Moving on to towers. As I mentioned, it seems that the challenges got added into the towers, so it's basically both are just in one at this point. It might stay that way. They might separate them again, have some challenge separate ones, but we'll see. But now it seems like they're going to do all the elements at once instead of just a couple. I think last time it was just fire and dark only, but now it was one for each element. So difficulty-wise, some of them were actually pretty easy. Like the light one was really easy if you just used FP. Like it wasn't even a problem. Earth also wasn't really that bad because you could use Kamal. The water one was intermediate difficulty. I actually beat it, I think, my second try, but I watched a guide before I did it with Lifeguard Yuze. So some of these require specific heroes to make them not as bad, but they're doable. Can't even remember the basic one. I just remember it wasn't that hard. I have no memories of that one. Fire is the one that held me back actually from being this season. I'll get more into that later. It wasn't too hard, but it was obnoxious. And then Dark was the really hard one. That's the one that I had to take a lot of time for. And at first I was trying to do it a different way, but in the end I noticed because a lot of the guides, I can't remember who people were using. They were using a certain hero, and it wasn't working for me. But I noticed that 1% had made a guide using Noxia, because Noxia has a heal, and then also she can hit certain enemies from a different height. So it made her a lot slower to use because her damage is obviously not very high. She's a tanker, um, but it was a lot safer to play with her. So I was able to actually beat that one with her, but it took several tries. Um, and then also just note from past seasons, not necessarily this one, but for example, when one of them was beat the stage was just Lapis. I can't remember that. It was like Tower Stage 44 or something. Um, what I did was I would play with Lapis, and then I would have her have one of the artifacts that heals you every 5 seconds. And then what you do is basically in each room you just get it down to one enemy that either can't attack you or that you can just kind of walk in a circle, and you just wait till you heal back to full health. It's a nice way to kind of cheese the challenge, where you can play with a hero that has good DPS but that does not have good healing just by healing between each room. It's a little slow, but it makes it easier. So that's just general advice. Um, Expedition, I really think Crom is the best hero to have in this at this point. Claude is also very good, but Crom is able to just take out so many enemies so quickly, especially with her almost guaranteed crit if you give her a second weapon that has a high crit ability. Um, as for the Mystic Resistance challenges, what I would say on that, um, honestly, if you think you can do at least the second of the four difficulties, just go all the way because the difference honestly between each of them is not that big. Now, if you try, like, say, the 7725, I think was the low one this time, and you're nowhere close, then maybe go for a different one. But like, if you can even get it kind of close, you might as well just go for the hardest one because then you get all of them in one go. That's just my opinion. And then for the final trial area, Andrus was basically necessary. I think all the guides I saw were using Andrus as the lead to deal most of the DPS. Um, I was able to actually get two of the three point achievements, which I was surprised by. I only thought I was going to be able to get one, but I got two. But the maximum one was very unlikely to be done. Maybe if you're a raid fanatic and you have a very high stat account. But other than that, I think most people were not able to do the 630k. So that was one of the ones in this case, I would label as more impossible. I think that was aimed more towards people who have just very, very maximized accounts. So that was one of the ones that I unfortunately missed, but the medium one was actually doable. So depending on your account. Co-op, here's where we had the issue this season. So as per usual, the 2A rank one for co-op defense, not hard at all. If co-op's working, the 3 awards takes some work, but like you either play with people that you know and you tell them how to play certain heroes so you can get the heal one or whatever, or you just do enough runs. Eventually, you can probably get it if you have a good enough account. The champion difficulty ones are the hard ones. Um, Luckily, though, there really is a good community with this game, where if you find the right people, they will help you if co-op is working. Where these ones are doable still. That's how I've done it for the last 2 seasons, but this one I was unfortunately unable to do even with help from other people. And that's where the issue with this one is. Co-op was broken for almost 2 full months this time. I think I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, it broke basically for almost the entirety of the season after the co-op achievements were available. There was only that first week for co-op defense that you could have gotten around it. Now, some people did not have as big of issues. I think everyone had some small amount of lag, but I think if you have a particularly good Wi-Fi setup, or I don't know how it works exactly, but some people said they were able to actually get these achievements and actually were able to play and get through it. I don't think anybody said it was as good as usual, but I think they were able to still do it. But some people like me, um, no matter what I tried, different Wi-Fi's using data, I even tried using different devices. Nothing was working. I couldn't get the game to run properly. The way the glitch worked was more or less there was such a big lag between you and other players that the game would still let you play, but the other players would be so far ahead of you that by the time the data reached you, there was a 10 to 20-second delay. So enemies were so you'd see your teammates attacking invisible enemies that you had already killed, or something like that. It would also delay you from like hitting switches and stuff, and basically you'd have to be able to solo co-op to even beat it, and it was undoable. So if you didn't have that first week and get 1 or 2 of those achievements, that's potentially 4 achievements that were completely blocked out, which is really annoying because there were only 5 that you could skip this time, and not through a choice of your own, but through a glitch in the game, 4 of them could have been blocked this way. So I think this might have actually messed up a lot of people beating achievements and reaching certain milestones. So I think in the future the devs need to relook at this and either patch the co-op faster, which I understand it's hard to patch things, or they need to find an alternate way for you to get more achievements, like add in a couple extras because of the difference, or if they don't want to mess with the balance for those who are able to beat them, then like code it in a way where it says do this co-op achievement or do something else, so then people who can't do the co-op can still earn it. Because this is actually one of the things that held me back from beating the season. Now we got Boss Rush. I still am not hugely into Raid, but this one was actually more doable now that they've revamped Boss Rush. The new version is a lot more doable. You can now try as many times as you want. It's not limited to a number of attempts. And I think even with only a decent account, not even a great account, you could get up to the 500 million points without too much issue. In my case, I was actually able to rehit the 900 million one, which I didn't think I was going to be able to do initially. I did the 700 million one without an issue. 900 million though, it took me till the very end, but I was able to do it. I think if I tried harder a little bit earlier, I would have been able to get it. The 1.1 billion I did not do. I think I could have if I used enough resources and got certain heroes maxed out, but I didn't want to spend my resources, so I did not, and I did not get the 1.1 billion. But once again, I thought this was actually impossible until the very end of the season, and I'll get to that once again later. So yeah, most people here that will lose at least one achievement here, such as me with the 1.1 billion. Some people might lose 2 or more, just depending on your account. Arcade, this one was the Hopping Home game, I believe it was called. This was the easiest one they've done by far of the 3 seasons. The first season, the Lana's pizza delivery was it was a very high skill level required to beat that one all the way. The second one, the ice climbing one, the first 2 weren't too bad. It was the third one that it was hard, and it also just took a long time to get there because it was a lot slower paced game that made that one difficult. This one was very fast paced. It wasn't that difficult. I beat it in under 10 tries. I think some people might need to try it more than that to get the pattern down, but it's not that hard. So this one was very nice and easy. So I hope that holds in the future, that the next arcade one, they pick an easier game that doesn't kill our sanity. Then the other category, you got the coffee ones, of course. 10,000 is free. 30,000, you just got to purchase some coffee. And 45,000 is pretty impossible. It's better than last time. Last time they had 55,000, which was really impossible. 45,000, I think you could do if you did spend enough resources. I just don't know if it's worth the resources. So I just would not count that one on my radar. Coliseum and Arena achievements were really easy. Coliseum, 30 wins. Arena, 10 wins. Unless you're literally a brand new account, you can win that. Even if you have to purposely rank down, these were open for half or over half the season. You had, I think, 2 months or so to do it. There was plenty of time to win 10 matches in Arena and 30 in Coliseum, so that's not an issue. Awakening Dungeon, I think they should have opened earlier, but technically by the time they opened it, there was just enough time for you to be able to earn it without spending any gems, as long as you did daily Awakening Dungeon. For the turn-based one, as usual, just find a guide. This one was actually the easiest of them all because there was a way to beat it even faster than it was intended, I believe. But yeah, so there's that one. And now for the impossible ones. There were 2 big ones. The 45,000 coffee, as per usual. Lots of resources needed or else it's not done. The 630,000 damage on the expedition boss. I don't think it's really doable for the vast majority of players unless you're really maxed out and into boss rush. And finally, the glitched co-op achievements, which this is the issue we run into. So let's say the 40,000 coffee is impossible. The 630,000 damage is impossible. And let's say you didn't do that first week of co-op at all. And now that's 4 more achievements you couldn't have done. That now makes 6 unbeatable achievements that are completely out of your control, which means that you can't even get the Deluxe Flame at all. It's now impossible because you can only skip 5 total. So this was the issue with this season, was that there wasn't enough wiggle room to get around the bug in co-op. The bug in co-op really messed up this season. So that brings me to my quick rant here. I have a lot of text written here. I'll just give a brief overview. Long story short, I ended the season with 5,100 points, just 300 off of getting the deluxe frame. And all I had left to do, I had one achievement left in my mind, even though it's 3 because it's 300 points. It was just do one thing to get 3 sets. And that was beat Fire Tower Horizon with just 1 hero. Unfortunately, I ran out of time. And even with 1 more hour, I actually could have done it. And this is probably why I'm releasing this today. After the season ended, I kind of set the game aside for a little bit. I still did my dailies to keep my account up, but I wasn't really playing all that actively. But since the season, or not season, the chapter 17 is about to drop next week and increase the level cap, I wanted to make sure I could beat this achievement before the level cap raised, just so I could prove to myself that I could beat the season, even if I didn't actually get the frame. Um, so the cause of me not getting this achievement, it's mostly on me. I pushed off a lot of the achievements till the end. I earned over 2,000 in the last, I think, 24 hours of the season. I was trying to get the trophy all along, the 4,000 point trophy, but I had determined quite early in the season that I was not going to be able to get the deluxe frame. Basically, once co-op broke, I had a feeling that it was going to be very difficult. And I kept hoping that co-op would be fixed. I'm like, if they fix co-op, then I'll actually try to get the achievements. But if not, then I guess I'll just go for the trophy. Um, and then just for some quick math, I knew that I got one co-op achievement, but I was missing 3 still, and I thought I wasn't going to be able to get any of them. I thought I was going to be missing 1 or 2 from boss rush, more likely 2, but I thought maybe I could pull the 900 million. Then for the expedition boss, I knew once again 1 or 2. I knew I was not going to be able to get the 630,000, but I thought I might be able to do the 520. And with that, even if you give me the best case there, and the coffee for 45,000. So if you add the 1 coffee, the 3 from the co-op, and then even just one of the other 2, and assume I could get the other one, that's still 6 achievements not beatable, and that would mean I couldn't get the season beaten. So at that point, I was like, well, why even bother? Because in order to even fight the expedition boss, I would have to buy the 2 Summer Arcane Stone packages, which I don't typically spend too much on the game, even though I really love the game. So I just decided it was not beatable. So I was like, yeah, why bother unless it becomes beatable? If they let me get the co-op ones, if they fix that, then I can actually try. Because without those three gone, then that's 5 even in the worst case scenario. I could skip the expedition boss altogether and boss rush and still be able to get it. So I waited. Come the last week, co-op was still broken, but there was a second bug, which is ironic that the second bug actually made it possible for me to beat the achievement. And the second bug was because of the glitch where it was disconnecting you and your fellow players. Pretty much, it would just assume that all the other players were doing 0 damage and getting hit 0 times. So you would automatically get the best hitter and the best tanker award without even if you could complete the run, and that was the big catch. If you could complete the run, and then you of course you still had to earn the healer because it was for some reason still count their healing ability. So due to this bug, I was actually able to complete a round, which I had done before. That's on challenger mode. So you have challengers and champions. So challenger, you have to beat it 8 times to unlock champion. I could beat a challenger run once in a while, but it required me basically just doing dozens upon dozens of runs before I'd have a couple successful ones. It was really painful. But because I knew that this was here, I actually in the last week tried for it and I actually did get it. I got the 3 awards, and I was able to, at that point I was like, oh, maybe I actually can get this done. But still, I was like, but it's extremely unlikely because I'd still have to get the 520k on the boss for expedition, and I'd have to get the 900 million for the boss rush. And I was thinking, well, the odds of me getting both is not the highest. I could potentially do it, but it would be very hard. And especially with the boss rush one, the current season that was up, I was not nowhere close to 900 million, so I was like, it's not going to happen unless the one that opens the last day of the season I could do, but I wasn't sure at that point. So I thought it's not going to happen. I'll just earn a couple extras just to get the 4,000 and be okay. But eventually, I was actually able to earn the 520,000 on the expedition, and as soon as I got that one, I was like, okay, this is actually doable. However, I did that on the last day, and that was the problem. So once I hit the 520,000 score, I was like, well, now I can actually do this. I need to actually really try. So then I got the 900 million score. I was really pushing. I beat all the other teams I hadn't done yet. And then I was down to my last hour to be able to earn the achievement. And I only had 1 achievement left, which was being the Tower of Horizon Fire, and I had 40 minutes. But under the time pressure, I guess I just couldn't get it done. I got to the last room 3 times, but I kept dying and then running out of time. So in the end, I was not able to complete the season, which is a bit sad, but it's what happened. So even with 1 more hour, though, which I know after the fact now because I actually did it, if I had 1 extra hour, I actually probably would have completed the season, which is a little annoying, but it's what it is. Maybe though it's a good thing because now I won't have to worry about losing my completion collection in future seasons. Like if there's another really hard one where it's just going to drive me insane, I can be like, well, I didn't get 3 done, so I guess it's fine if I don't finish this other season. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try. I'm still going to try in the future. But it now makes me less invested, if that makes sense. Plus, on your profile, you only get 1 slot for your badge, and then on your frame, you only get 1 frame. So I have season 1 and 2, which were the harder ones. So I can just put 1 in each, and I'm still covered. So I guess there's no need to show 3 anyways. But yeah, I wish I had it. So overall, it was mostly my fault for pushing back too many achievements. In the last 2 weeks of the season, I was doing a lot of travel and other things that were keeping me busy, so I wasn't able to play that much. Where by the last week, when I figured out, oh, I actually could get one co-op one, it was a little bit too late for me to really catch up. I really tried, especially in the last, I want to say, 12 hours. I think I played just like nonstop. I'm really trying for it, and I got so close. Just that one achievement, but didn't work out. It's what it is. Um, I still think the devs, though, this is why I'd say that was mostly my fault. If the devs had fixed the co-op bug or offered other achievements to give more wiggle room around those co-op broken achievements, I actually would have beaten it earlier in the season, I think I actually would have completed everything. So a little bit on the bug and not being fixed, but mostly just because I pushed off too much stuff and I made the determination I couldn't do it when I actually could have. So there's nothing to really do about it. I did send a suggestion to the devs to reopen season 3 for a week when they fixed co-op. Like to pick a co-op, we can be like, hey, we're going to temporarily reopen season 3 so that people can earn the co-op achievements because they were broken. Um, so I sent that in. Nothing happened from it though. They've actually fixed co-op, and ironically, they fixed it the exact week after the season ended. That's very convenient. If it had been fixed 2 weeks earlier, I would have completed the season. But oh well. Anyways, they though did not ever indicate they were going to reopen the season, which they haven't done it before, and I really don't think they ever will. But I was hopeful because of the glitch, the bug, like that actually is a legitimate reason why they would reopen it. Whereas the other two, there was no reason. This one would actually have a reason. So maybe at some point, but I really don't think so. Especially once season 4 opens, they're not going to go back. So you win some, you lose some. That's how it is. Anyways, here I am though completing Fire Tower of Horizon Stage 53 with just split this. So I actually did it, and this video also is released today both because I did this today and also just to show I did beat it before the level cap increase, so I could have done it, but oh well. I know I could have done it, so that's what counts. Quick wrap up though. This season was a lot more friendly to anybody aiming for any of the lower achievements because there was a lot more in that easy to medium range. There was just a lot more in that range compared to season 2. And if it weren't for the co-op bug, I think everything was easier to get, including the deluxe badge. With co-op bug though, if you had that issue, then that wasn't doable. I've also heard that future seasons will be kept at this difficulty or even a little bit easier, which is a good sign because season 1 drained me so bad. It really did. The beat the one expedition stage with 2-star heroes. That was the one that really killed me. So anything on lower difficulty scales than that is a good sign for me. And I think 3 was even easier than 2 as well. So if we're going less hard in the future, then that's a good thing. It'll not drain as many players. And next season, I'll probably try for it. I hope the devs have learned from the mistakes with this season, especially with the co-op bug. A, hopefully that never happens again. And B, if it does, I hope that they take more action sooner, either to make sure that that gets resolved right away, or that they'll like extend the season or add alternative achievements so that it's still doable for most players that want to try, instead of just well, bad luck, I guess you can't do it, because it really is not fun to lose the season to a bug in the game and not because I was not able to do it. So yeah, that's what I got to say about the season. Hopefully season 4 is a good one, and I'll try to get a video out for that one sooner than this one. Hopefully I'll get it before the season ends and not after like this one. But yeah, thanks everybody, and go ahead and check out my other videos.